Hello everyone, in this video we are going to learn about points of intersection. When you sketch curves of function, you need to show the points of intersection and the solutions to equations. What are they? They are the x-coordinate or coordinates. At the points of intersection of the curves with equations y equals to fx and y equals to gx are the solutions to the equation fx equals to gx. Now let's see some example question. So for the first question, part A, it asks you to sketch the curves with equation y equals to x times x minus 1 and y equals to x squared times 2 minus x. So let's see the first equation. We have y equals to x times x minus 1. We need to find the points of intersection with y-axis and x-axis. So the first thing, if y equals to 0, then x times x minus 1 equals to 0, implies that x equals to 0 or x equals to 1, which means the curve crosses x-axis at the origin and 1, 0. Now, if x equals to 0, we have y equals to 0, implies that the curve crosses y-axis at 0, 0. From this equation, we can see the function x times x minus 1 is a quadratic function, which means you need to see the coefficient of x squared. In here, we can see that x times x, so the coefficient of x squared is positive. So a greater than 0, which means you have the small face. So U shape. Now let's see the second equation, y equals to x squared times 2 minus x. Similarly, if y equals to 0, we have x squared times 2 minus x equals to 0, implies that x equals to 0 or x equals to 2. It means that the curve crosses x-axis at 0, 0 and 2, 0. Now, if x equals to 0, we have y equals to 0, which means the curve crosses y-axis at 0, 0. And you can see from this function, this is a cubic function. And you need to see the coefficient of x cubed. In here, we can see x squared times minus x, which means the coefficient of x cubed is negative. So a less than 0, which means you have the shape looks like that. Now we can sketch two curves in the same diagram. So let's sketch the first one. It crosses x-axis at the origin, so the origin, and also 1, 0. Maybe let me a little bit, 1 is over here. And crosses y-axis also at the origin, and it has U shape. So we sketch that something like that. So that is y equals to x times x minus 1. Now let me change another color to draw the cubic one. So we have the curve crosses the x-axis at 0, 0 and 2, 0. So 2 probably over here. And the y-axis also at the origin. We know the shape of the cubic function. So what we have some thing looks like that. Let me expand the curve. Expand it a little bit. So this curve is y equals to x squared times 2 minus x. So we have done the part A question. Now the question B asks you to find the coordinates of the points of intersection. From the sketch, we can see how many points of intersection. So the first one is over here, and the second one, and the third one. So there are 3 intersection points. Now what we need to do, we need to solve the equation x times x minus 1 equals to x squared times 2 minus x to find the intersection points. So we can expand the function on the both hand side. What we get x squared minus x equals to 2x squared minus x cubed. And rearrange that, we have x cubed plus x squared minus 2x squared minus x equals to 0, which means we have x cubed minus x squared minus x equals to 0. And what we have x times x squared minus x minus 1 equals to 0. Implies that we have x equals to 0, or x squared minus x minus 1 equals to 0. We have the quadratic function, quadratic equation. Then we can use the minus b plus minus. So we can use minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a to find the solution of this quadratic equation. Then we can see a equals to 1, b equals to minus 1, and c equals to 1, c equals to minus 1. And we substitute them into the formula. We have 1 plus minus square root of minus 1 square of that minus 4 times 1 times minus 1 over 2 times 1. We have 1 plus minus square root of 5 over 2. So we have 2 solutions. In this quadratic equation, we have x equals to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2, and x equals to 1 minus square root of 5 over 2. Now you know the x-coordinates of the points of intersection. Well, the question asks you to find the coordinates of the points of intersection, which means you also need to find the y-coordinates. So let's do it. When x equals to 0, y equals to, in here you can choose one of the curves. You can choose y equals to x times x minus 1, or you can choose x squared times 2 minus x. and then substitute the value of x into the equation. We have y equals to x times x minus 1. I like to use this one. So that equals to 1 implies that it has 0, 0 as a point of intersection. Now, when x equals to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2, we have y equals to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 times 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 minus 1 equals to 1 plus square root of 5 over 2 times minus 1 plus square root of 5 over 2. Thus, we can do that minus 1, that is square root of 5, square root of that minus 1 squared over 2 times 2, that is 4, equals to 5 minus 1, so 4 over 4 equals to 1. Thus, we get the point 1 plus square root of 5 over 2, 1. That is the second one. Now for the third one, when x equals to 1 minus square root of 5 over 2, we have y equals to 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 times 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 minus 1 equals to 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 times minus 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 equals to minus square root of 5 square of that minus 1 squared over 2 times 2, that is 4, equals to 4 over 4 equals to 1. So we have the third point, that is 1 minus square root of 5 over 2 dot minus 1. Thus, we got all the points of intersection. We can see we have the 3 points that is the same number as we can see from the sketch over here. Now let's move on to the second question. So for the second question, it asks you to sketch the curve y equals to 2 over x squared and y equals to x squared times x minus 1 on the same axis. So for part A, we do the similar way in the question 1. So for the first function, for the first equation, y equals to 2 over x squared, we know that y equals to k over x squared with k greater than 0. We have learned in the reciprocal graphs that means the curve is in the first and the second quadrant. Right? Now for the second equation, we have y equals to x squared times x minus 1. Now if y equals to 0, we have x squared times x minus 1 equals to 0. Implies that x equals to 0 or x equals to 1, which means the curve crosses the x-axis at 0, 0 and 1, 0. Now if x equals to 0, then y equals to 0, implies implies that the curve crosses the y-axis at the origin. Now we can see this is a cubic equation. What we have x squared times x, that x cubed. The coefficient of that is 1, that is greater than 0. So a greater than 0, which means the curve looks like that. Now we can sketch both graphs on the same diagram. Now we draw the first one, y equals to 2 over x squared. We know it in the first and the second quadrant, and it has asymptotes, that is x equals 0 and y equals to 0. This is y equals to 2 over x squared. And now let me change the color to draw the second one. We have y equals to x squared times x minus 1. It crosses the x-axis at 0, 0, so 0, 0, and 1, 0. Crosses the y-axis at 0, 0. We know the shape, so we can sketch that. That is y equals to x squared times x minus 1. So we have done part A. Now for the part B, using your sketch, state with a reason the number of real solutions to the equation x to the power 4 times x minus 1 minus 2 equals to 0. Now we can see that when 2 over x squared, 2 over x squared equals to x squared times x minus 1, we can rearrange this equation that we need times x squared on the both hand side. So we have 2 equals to x to the power 4 times x minus 1, and we let the right hand side becomes 0, so that we have x to the power 4 times x minus 1 minus 2 equals to 0. That's the equations the question mentioned. We know where that this equation come from, and we can see that the question asks you the number of the real solutions to this equation, which means you need to find the number of points of intersection from the sketch. There is only one point. It means that in the sketch, two curves intersect at a single point. Which means there is only one real solution of 2 over x squared equals to x squared times x minus 1. Now we have done that question, and the conclusion or the main key things in this lesson are this part. You can pause the video to make some notes. Thank you for your watching.